Spearatics by Sideline Sports Network. I hope y'all are having a lovely Monday. Been quite a hectic one for myself. But before we get started into the recap of Florida State and NC State, uh, James is backstage. I'll bring him up in just 1 second. He's getting his mic and stuff ready. But this show is brought to you by Game Day Vodka. Um, Great sponsor so far. I'm really happy to have them on board with us. Um, Actually, this weekend coming up against Clemson, we're gonna have a lot of their product for people to try out. So if you come to the tailgate and you participate in adult beverage drinking, you will get to try Game Day Vodka if you haven't tried it before. Um, but with that, I'm extremely proud to announce that we'll have probably one of the better, possibly bigger FSU tailgates that's been there in a while. From what I'm hearing on people's side, they're telling me that they're coming. Got a couple of people from the West Coast that are coming. Um, we got a couple of people coming down from Tennessee, Ohio, stuff to that nature. So there's some people that are coming that don't always come to these games. So I'm gonna bring James on real quick, and then I got one more announcement to make before I let Taylor start off. Um, so, Made Equal Clothing Company has partnered with Micanopy 1851, and we have the co-founder of Micanopy 1851 as one of the co-hosts of the show. So it's really cool because he was look, as far as to my knowledge, we've got it trademarked, the 4 equals 40, and it's really cool because the clothing company is called Made Equal Clothing Company. The Made Equal Clothing Company, if y'all would like to go check them out, the story behind the company is really cool. It's about diversity. It's about people that we were all made equal, that we all bleed the same color. So please go check them out. Really cool clothing as well. And if you go and purchase anything from them, and you can choose, there's like 3 or 4 partners. You can choose which partner that you want the money to go toward. So if you choose Micanopy, then 10% of every sale goes toward Micanopy, which therefore goes into the educational part for the FSU athletes. So go check them out, see what you think about them. Taylor, take it away.
Hmm. Where do I even start, man? This is just kind of rough. Second half was an absolute disaster. Offensive side of the ball did absolutely nothing. 96 total yards in the second half. Travis went 5 for 13 for 64 yards and 2 interceptions. An interception late in the game that a lot of people are talking about, but don't even really want to talk about the interception he threw with about 6 minutes left. He forced the ball to Micah Pittman, put them in pretty good position. Unfortunately, NC State decided to punt the ball away at the 35-yard line there and give Florida State a chance to go down there and get some points. But multiple drop passes, self-inflicted penalties. We've seen this time and time again. And until Florida State quit beating themselves at times, you're going to see that. You saw it the first drive of the game. You thought Florida State set the standard of this game. They got all the way down to the NC State 41. Then Turntine on 3rd and 10 had a whiff block, forced them to get a sack right there, had to punt it away. And then the next defensive drive, they had a huge stop on NC State, turned around. They had a couple of good drives here and there. I know that on the read option with Jordan Travis, he had a huge 71-yard gain, massive one-handed catch to Micah Pittman on the slot fade. They tried to go for it later in the game on the same slot fade on the same side. Just didn't work out. I mean, Micah Pittman quit running the route. There was a situation where he just didn't go after the ball. He didn't attack the ball at all. He went inside instead of outside at that point. Just a lot of things that went wrong. I would have liked to seen them go to the right side on a fade route to Johnny Wilson instead. He had a huge 41-yard catch there on that drive to kind of extend the lead a little bit more and get them into kind of decent territory. And a lot of people were talking about, okay, well, why didn't we go after a Ryan Fitzgerald field goal? He is 5 for 10 on the season. He made a 47-yard field goal, but he's also 1 for 3 between 30 yards and 39 yards. You don't put your field goal kicker out there when he's struggling that much. If it got to about the 12, 13-yard line, okay, that's okay. That's fine. If he misses a 29, 30-yard field goal to lose the game for Florida State, all right. But I just don't think there's a situation. I think you stay aggressive in that situation. Might have wanted to see a tunnel screen or something like that, because they are kind of aggressively coming downhill on your running backs. Your running backs didn't have a good half after Trayshawn Ward went down with an injury in the second quarter. They only had 16 combined rushing yards total with Lawrence Toafili and Trey Benson. So just overall, you saw that Florida State was kind of one-dimensional in some of their offensive sets. Just overall, I thought that there was a good amount of defensive plays that you could really go towards, but NC State's backup quarterback just did not pass the ball. He was 0 for 1. They were one-dimensional offensively. All they could do was run the ball. They only completed one pass, and that was Thayer Thomas' backwards pass to their quarterback. So I didn't think Florida State played its best game offensively. And defensively, they had a couple of breakdowns, but just overall, this was a complete disaster. It reminds me a lot of 2012. There's really just nothing much to say. I mean, this is a situation that Florida State's got to bounce back from, and there was too many self-inflicted wounds to kind of get over the hump. And I just think Florida State just kind of shot themselves in the foot, and they have to get back together quickly. As Mike Norvell talked about, you cannot be disappointed. But damn it, if you don't get to a situation where you're upset about this and you're not going to do something right about it, then what's the point? Like, if you're not going to respond in a positive way, and he always talks about response. He talks about this is 100% on me. But at the same token, players have to also make the plays as well. So,
yeah, first and foremost, we can say you can blame Coach Norvell or you can blame Jordan Travis. I'm personally not going to blame Jordan Travis for the 2 interceptions myself. One of them, the first one he threw, is his fault. Okay. The second one, it's a timing throw. Micah ran the wrong way, got bodied out of the position. He was more or less pushed off of his route. After 5 yards, I thought that was supposed to be a hold. But we didn't get calls all night long. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's the referees that are responsible for this loss either. The refs did not help us. They did not call. There were so many non-calls in this game. It was ridiculous. But where the game really broke down for Florida State, in my opinion, is it starts off with a Dylan Gibbons just goofy play where he gets called for a personal foul or whatever it's called, whatever they call it. And we end up giving that away, punting the ball away, whatever. Then we have, I don't know, I counted 7 drop passes. One, they said you kind of contested. Somebody got their hand in there or whatever. So fine, 6 drop passes. At that point, don't you feel like that a quarterback's going to start losing faith in his wide receivers if they've had 6 drop passes? Micah Pittman's been the most consistent in this game. Therefore, I think that's the reason why he threw it in his direction the last play of the game, which therefore should have not been the last play of the game, but it was due to it was an interception. You had a lot of knucklehead penalties. There was a lot that happened one right after the other. The Mastromano punt, non-punt, running punt, running I didn't do it right punt, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think, he's an Aussie kicker for one, but you've been here long enough with Florida State that you know that you should be looking for where the line of scrimmage is. I think you did the right thing by avoiding the blocker. But at that point, make a decision. Get beside the blocker, punt the ball away, or take off running for the first down. One of the two. You hesitated, and it caused you to hand them the ball at, I think it was the 17 or 18-yard line, if I'm not mistaken. And this is why I say that the defense is not to blame for the loss. I think we gave up 1 touchdown in total as a defense. We owned that play where we turned the ball over at the 17-yard line caused them to end up going into a 3rd and 40. Regardless, one of those reasons was a penalty, but you held them to a 3-point score. That's a win for a defense to give, for the offense to give the ball up, or special teams give the ball up on the 17, and for a defense to get them held to a field goal. That is a win. I don't care what anybody says. And if you hold a home team to 19 points as a defense, you should win that ball game. Period. There's no excuses for it. Not quite sure why in the second half we came out so flat, went away from what we were doing in the first half. Not quite sure what happened other than the drop passes. We tried we tried to run the ball, but here's my problem with it. I seen a halfback draw or a halfback dive, the same exact play, trying to go in between the same tackles. Turntime did not have a great game against NC State Saturday. He was having issues throughout the whole game, in my opinion, and that was the area we were trying to run through. So I was really confused on that. Didn't understand it. Whether it's Mike Norvell that's at fault for the last play call or not, I think the play call was right. The receiver was wrong. You shouldn't have went that direction. But again, like I said, he lost faith in his wide receivers on so many drop passes. I personally would have liked to seen maybe a play action over the middle to a tight end or to a big Johnny Wilson, to get 5 or 6 yards, get a little bit closer for your kicker if you were going to go for the field goal. Instead, we went for it all on the first opportunity that we had. But we did it on the same exact play that we scored on, only here was the difference. We were on the right hash mark, and it was the longest throw on the field. Out of all your receivers, this was the longest throw to make. So don't understand that at all. But between the knucklehead plays that we had in penalties, and then the crazy Mastromanno non-punt, you can only make so many mistakes, regardless of if a starting quarterback's out or not. You can only make so many mistakes against a good team before it comes back and bites you in the ass. Well, unfortunately, like 8 in a row. James, if we didn't cover everything, or if there's something you can rebuttal on, what was your thoughts?
Just making sure my mic's good. Are we good with that?
It's popping a little bit, but I can hear you. It's not terrible, but like Taylor. So, what do you think was going through the mind of Jordan Travis on that last play where he threw that timing throw? I call it a flag route, but on that flag route to Micah, why do you think we just instantly went there?
I just think he was very comfortable with the one-on-one coverage. He saw it earlier in the game on the first touchdown, had that great one-handed catch there. He thought he could be able to get those defensive backs inside, and there was a lot of different things that you can kind of base it off of. Michael Pittman's a very, very physical receiver, even with his size at 5'11", 200 pounds. You have a 6'7" receiver at Johnny Wilson on the other side. But as you know, with him being a smaller receiver, you have to have that timing route on time. And, like you said, I mean, the DB basically ran the route for him at that point. He didn't really have an opportunity to get there. But like I said before, Micah Pittman has to do a better job of making sure that he goes all the way through his route and does not stop. And it seemed like he stopped about halfway through, realized that he was overthrown and over his head. He had to go make a play on the ball to try to force the ball loose and couldn't. So, I mean, there's a lot of situations where, yeah, you can look at it and say, okay, Jordan Travis shouldn't have made that play right there. And you're thinking, okay, what a stupid call in that point. But when you have a field goal kicker that's 5 for 10, you don't really have a whole lot of options with that. I just think you had the right play call in that regard, but I just think it probably should have went to another receiver in that regard. But that's here nor there at that point. But yeah, it's very confusing with the whole situation, because I know that a lot of social media in terms of Florida State fans are making judgment calls basically off of that situation. James, I know everyone was excited about the Ryan Fitzgerald 47-yard field goal. You had that lot of excitement, and people were saying, okay, he made this 47-yard field goal here. He's going to make it on another situation. So just very, very odd with the situation going on. I think there was a lot of talk on that one play when it should have been just the more so overall performance in the second half with the whole team.
I think the biggest problem that people are having right now is we're looking at the interception.
Yep.
And what we're not looking at is that there has been a consistent theme since LSU about mismanagement of the game plan. From when you could have clearly iced LSU by scoring, but you tried to pitch it. There is nothing wrong with the play. There was something wrong with the execution, but also why would you do something like that in that situation? Same thing with here. It was 2nd and 9 with 44 seconds left and 3 timeouts. There is no need when you're about 25 yards away. I think we were about that far. So the first time you ran it from the 14. You actually had press on the top of the triangle, which would have been Micah Pittman. And the routes that you ran were different. It's not the same play. That route that Pittman ran was the same, but the ones that you ran outside of it were different. Now, You did have the hitch on the outside, but you ran basically an in. That basically created a better spacing situation, and for Jordan to be able to throw a ball to where it's literally just those two guys. Now, in this situation, the guys played off. Everybody played back, knowing that they're going to try to take us deep. So in that situation, Jordan should have looked at that and probably looked on the backside. On the backside, you got the 6'7" guy running a slant. And if he drops it, great. We got 2 more downs with plenty of time.
Here's the thing with that, James, though. If you really think about it, we have 44 seconds left in the game. You said 2nd and 9. NC State's got a timeout left. So even if you run the ball, you let them waste a timeout, you have third and 9, whatever it is, we stop them at that point. But if you pass the ball and you have an incomplete pass, now you're at 3rd and 9. They have a timeout, so they have more time on the clock, can actually stop the clock.
Against a team that has not completed a pass.
Yeah.
So it's not – so the situation is – and this is where I was trying – even Mike Norvell is like saying that, if I could do it all over again, I would change it. And that's where the only problem I have with not us, not a real problem, is that we are consistently trying to defend somebody who's not even defending themselves. Mm-hmm. It's okay to say that we did not do the best in that situation. It's not an indictment. It doesn't mean we hate everybody. I think we've become so shell-shocked because of what happened with Jimbo, what happened with Tag, and now what's kind of happened the first 2 years, and we finally got some success that we can't even critique. That's what happens in games like situations. That's what happens when they go break down the film. Yes, we can blame it was a myriad of a bunch of different things. It was a hodgepodge, a crock pot of crap between the referees, between 7 drop passes, which is what I thought it was. It feels like it might have been 14. But if you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're going to trust Jordan Travis and the wide receivers, then you got to trust. You got to give them the same amount of energy and expectation. And you got to trust that your 5th year quarterback in college, he's a junior, but this is his 5th year in school, is going to be able to look, okay, that's not there for me. I got to come back here. Or which is wild. The running game wasn't working, but the pass protection was really, really good. I've got to use my legs. That's the only real critique I don't understand. What are we saving the legs for? The one touchdown that we scored came off of him utilizing his legs. And I just don't like off of a 71-yard run. Even in that situation, you got DBs playing off, they're playing the pass. You go run, get me 7 yards in the middle of the field. Even if we do play for the field goal, get me dead center where my man is going to be able to kick it. And if he misses it, then we'll leave his ass in Riley. That's exactly – I would rather miss a field goal with 0 seconds left than to throw an interception with plenty of time and plenty of bullets. I think that's really where the outrage comes. But mine comes with this. Last 2 games, and people stop we didn't expect to be 6-0 at this point. Many people, it's not that. It's the fact of how you've lost the last 2 games. 20 plus penalties. Extremely undisciplined. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Referees making up plays like they did on Farmer. Doesn't matter. That one I'll give us. They also made up for that because I personally don't believe that guy tried to target Trey Benson. That's just my personal belief. I hate when referees do that. If you messed up a call, you messed up a call. But you got that. You've got consistency. We're even though our defense isn't to blame, we gotta shore up that tackling a little bit. This guy was running like he was Greg Jones, and I think those are just the things I think. But I mean, it sucks because of the injuries. It sucks because of it's all things that can be correctable. And I don't think if Florida State played their best game and we lost to a better NC State team, I don't think fans are griping in the manner in which they're griping. I think it's just because for 2 weeks in a row, we've lost because of a lot to do with our own self-inflicted things. And I 100% understand that. But I think Mike, what I love about Mike is that Mike isn't sensitive. And Mike is probably critiquing himself in a similar manner to what a lot of other people are critiquing. And his job is to 100% figure it out with the pieces that he has. I don't even know if we have another D tackle, if we can afford to lose another one. But yeah, it's just a learning situation. It sucks in the moment. Hopefully it'll get better.
Well, look, this is one thing that I can say for a fact. I don't think we've had a problem with it on this show so far. As a fan base, we've definitely had that problem. You've got what Twitter considers the dark side and the good side of Knowles. The good side of Knowles are going to defend Coach Norvell. They're loyal to a fault. Regardless of what he does, it's always not his fault. Then you've got the dark side. No matter how well things look or how well things go, we're getting lucky or the players are making up for poor coaching. But on this show, I think it's been quite cut down the middle. So there's no doubt that when we get within the red zone, close to the end of the game, we get really just cute. It's like the pitch against LSU, like you said. Now this play, there was no reason to call this play on 2nd and 9 or whatever it was. There was no reason for us to throw the ball at the longest throw on the field. Here's a thing that I want to bring up that I thought this is the reason why I think Jordan lost trust in his wide receivers in this game, not only because of the drop passes, but I counted 4 plays where Jordan threw the ball was incomplete, but there was 4 plays where we had wide receivers on top of each other. You didn't even know where the hell the ball was going. Which one was it going to? Because they had crossed routes. Someone ran the wrong route. No play that we have puts wide receivers 1-2 yards in front of the other in the same exact spot. Like that, we don't. I know we don't have plays that do that. I don't. There's no way. So first off, you're losing trust because it seems like your wide receivers are not. They're not understanding the play calls. 1, 2. When the ball is thrown to them, some of them are wide open. Like one that Johnny Wilson missed, literally went straight through his hands underneath his arm. That ball was absolutely perfectly thrown. There was no reason to miss it. The one where he was coming across the middle and it was contested a little bit, okay, fine. Maybe that one shouldn't have been caught. Maybe the defender made a play on the ball. But the other ones that were dropped, these aren't balls that are, make a play to catch it, get underneath the ball, come back to the ball, or it's a little bit behind you. You shouldn't. No, these were balls that were literally on the money, dropped in the damn breadbasket, and we dropped them. So I felt like there was a lot of faith that was lost between the quarterback and the wide receivers. But with that said, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like we're going away from the RPO a lot. I don't feel like we're running that RPO like we were earlier in the season. I don't ever see that pause where we're handing the ball and then Jordan either snatches it out or gives it off. It's either a clear handoff or a clear drop back or roll out and throw. We're not confusing the defense. And just like the NC State players said, and so did the coaches, we had seen the same formations all week long on film. They get here, they run the same formations, and it just become too predictable. Whether that's true or not true, whether NC State's pulling their own chain or not, I don't really care. Here's the thing that bothers me. When we were playing an LSU team in New Orleans, we thought it was at a critical moment-ish in the game to do a flea flicker. We had balls. Now we're calling plays where we ain't got no balls. Like we're trying to. Our biggest problem in this game is we started playing not to lose instead of playing to win, and that's where like I literally felt like Jimbo Fisher came back and started calling plays in the second half because of how conservative these play calls were, regardless of who they were coming from. Whether Atkins called 50% of them or Mike Norvell called 100% of them, they were too damn conservative. We were being too predictable. And like, where did the screen game go? Like, we had DBs playing off of us on so many different drives, playing far enough off of us. We could have thrown a decent tonal screen or a bubble screen, and we didn't. Like, I don't understand why we completely went away from what has worked for us all year long in the RPO and the bubble screens. Taylor, will you touch on what you think about how the defense played in this game overall? There's some things they could clean up for sure, but overall, what do you think?
I think overall, I mean, they played pretty well. I mean, for the most part, I thought Patrick Payton was very, very aggressive on some of his containments. He actually, I think, swatted away a pass. I think it was on like 3rd and 2 on like a rollout from Devin Leary. Was able to get that ball batted down, and then the next play, Javier Robinson was able to get the 4th and 2 interceptions. So that was very massive in terms of just production, defense buying in. He overthrew the pass, but in terms of just being ready for the play and making the play, I thought was very impressive. Now, like I alluded to before, when their backup quarterback came in, James alluded to it as well. Guy hasn't completed a pass. Jack Chambers, he's the transfer from Charleston Southern. He wasn't a threat to do anything. I mean, he actually only attempted one pass, and the one pass was going to the corner of the end zone against Jerry Jones. It was a good play by Jerry Jones at that point, but that was it. That was all he had. And you just thought there was going to be a lot more in the second half from an offense that you basically gave Syracuse a win next week because Devin Leary is probably not going to play. So they're playing Syracuse on the road at that point without their quarterback, and Florida State had basically a 2-possession game at that point that you could have been up by and getting that game finished, but you didn't. And it's very frustrating with that. I mean, I thought the defense played well enough to win you the ball game. You only allowed 19 points on the road to a team that was very, very struggling offensively. They're not Wake Forest. They're not going to spread you deep and throw it out wide. They just don't have the talent to do that. Derek Thomas was locked up, and you saw what happened. Really, the only miscue they really had was, I think it was that DJ Lundy wheel route that he allowed. Got caught in space there. He's still not very good in coverage, as we can tell, even with the weight loss. But I will say he did play well enough to get you there because you saw the run-stopping abilities that he had later in that game. So you know the potential that he has. But just overall, I think that linebacker unit with Tatum Bethune, he had some very nice plays. Kalen DeLoach had some nice plays as well. I just thought overall, I mean, the defense played well enough to get you there. And there's not a lot of people complaining about Fuller this game because offensively, you look at it and you're like, man, that's a game you got to finish. And basically they conceded defeat. And you ended up still losing that game in a game where I thought that Florida State's defense was playing with their hair on fire at times and just couldn't get it done.
James, question. Do you feel like this is something that this team is going to learn? You know, hopefully it's this season, but is this something that they've got to learn as to how to finish games, learn how to keep the foot on the gas or close games out?
Yeah, I think they've got to continue to harp on it. I think that's the only thing the coaching staff can really do. Defensively, they got to learn how to. Somebody's got to make the play. I remember talking to Derek McClendon about that. Is that sometimes it looks like, oh, I'm waiting on him to make the play. No, you have to be the guy that's dead set on, I'm going to make the play. And you'll start seeing guys swarm to the ball and not just saying, oh, okay, well, somebody else will eventually get it. Offensively, you've got to be the guy that says, I'm going to catch the ball. You got to be the guy that understands situations. We talked about the first interception where we did that a lot the last 2 years, the previous 2 years under Kenny. I made a lot of critique about it. It's that rollout. 3 guys are in the same pair of pants, throw the ball up, pray for something to happen, and an interception happens. I said, they got to be coaching that. And somebody called me crazy. I said, well, if all 3 quarterbacks on the roster have ran the exact same play and everybody has the exact same result, I have no choice but figure out that something's being coached. It's impossible to have 3 guys within 5 yards of each other. It's too so. I mean, you got to figure out how to make that work. You got to run the right routes. You have to catch it.